Jocelyn Badal, a graduate of BEd General Education, and I am currently teaching in a Filipino Chinese school. Well, the most challenging part for me is the language and cultural differences because some of our students are overseas Chinese students. They have to adjust in terms of communication and culture. For me to relate with my students, I also have to exert effort to learn about their language, culture, values, and environment because this knowledge will allow me to cater to my students' needs. So I always make sure that I provide culturally responsive instruction for my students. In this way, they will feel comfortable not only to learn but also to interact with others. I am very grateful to the Institute of Education for being my home in my 4 year stay in FEU. But IE has been recognized for its quality education. The administrators and professors work hand in hand, a positive atmosphere conducive for learning. They provide their students with varieties of opportunities to learn and to grow as an individual. Well, of course, with the help of the expertise of professors who provide reliable and credible sources of information, students can assure that their capacities and skills will be honed to the fullest. I can say that IE really equipped me well for my working life. The skills I learned and developed really helped me to efficiently perform my duties as a teacher, especially that I am teaching in a diverse classroom.
Good morning and welcome to this semester's the Education Research Forum. Let's begin by singing the National Anthem to be followed by our FEU multi-faith prayer.
Glory to you, Almighty, for gathering us today. Give us the fortitude to conquer life's challenges so we can excel and be upright in everything that we do. Guide us to be united in diversity, that we may continue to serve and love one another. Amen.
Again, I would like to welcome our participants from all over the country to this semester's TERF. This is Miss Andrea Austria, your moderator for this plenary session. Just to set some reminders for our participants this morning, please take note that this event is being recorded and will be shared to our FEU social media platforms. Also, we encourage everyone to type in questions and comments for our keynote speakers in the meeting chat or via Facebook Live. At this point, let me present to you our Dean, Dr. Harold John D. Kulala, for his welcoming remarks. Hi, Dean. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Andrea.
Morning, Dean.
Good morning. While I welcome you to this biannual Teacher Education Research Forum, please allow me, I prepared a short presentation for this opening remarks. May I just ask if it's viewable already? Andrea, can you see my slides?
Yes, Dean. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning to our students, colleagues, and visitors both locally and internationally who are watching over various social media live streaming platforms. I am very pleased to welcome you to our biannual Teacher Education Research Forum, or most commonly known here in FEU as TERF. I would like to specially welcome our two keynote speakers from the Office of CHED Commissioner Alvin Darilag, represented by Dr. Cherry Diego, and from the Directorate of Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or CIMEO, represented by Dr. Ethel Agnes Valenzuela. I also would like to specially mention our presenters for today, as I know they're excited to present their research projects. 7 graduate student researchers from MA Education and Doctor of Education programs, and 40 junior and senior undergraduate researchers from Bachelor of Elementary Education, Bachelor of Secondary Education majors in English, Mathematics and Science, Bachelor of Special Needs Education, and Bachelor of Physical Education. All of them are presenting their thesis and dissertations today. Do your best and be excited on what you will learn from this experience. I give my advance congratulations to everyone. This year's TERF focuses on different research initiatives to strengthen teacher education. The TERF is one of the many research initiatives of the Institute, i.e. promotes quality research-based education that provides our faculty and students, as well as other members of the academe, the opportunity to present and communicate their research through various platforms. As a Center of Excellence in Teacher Education awarded by the Commission on Higher Education, we uphold the value of research and quality teaching and learning, and we commit to strengthening teacher education as a discipline in our country. I know all of us are excited to come back to the campus and meet our friends, peers, and colleagues, like we used to do while we are still waiting for the time that we will come back. We should continue our quest in achieving quality education. The Institute of Education continues to provide various activities and services for all our students. I would like to take this opportunity to inform you that this coming school year 2021 and 2022, which will begin in June, the Institute is celebrating its 87th founding anniversary. Yes, for 87 years now, IE is home to excellent teachers, educators, researchers, education leaders, and reformers, national athletes, and those athletes competed in Southeast Asian Games and Olympics, and different sports coaches of the country. We are proud to continue this legacy. Our students now are part of this colorful history that we want to keep since 1934, when the Institute of Education was born. Continuing this legacy is a huge task, but all of us in the Institute are up for the challenge. Over the last few years, the Institute of Education introduces a promising and dynamic career in education by balancing the traditional value-laden pedagogies and the technology-driven approaches for the purposes of producing highly competitive professional teachers, sports managers, administrators, who are much sought after in the national and global educational arena. We continue to develop teachers, educational managers, and practitioners who are locally and globally competitive, critical thinkers, lifelong learners, digitally literate, and effective communicators. We are committed to the growth and well-being of learners from diverse cultures and capacity levels. The Institute further instills to our students and into these teachers, academic managers, and practitioners the values of fortitude, excellence, and uprightness at all times. We keep this mission to promote quality, outcomes-based, value-laden, progressive, collaborative, innovative, and research-based teacher education and training for practitioners in local and national and even international educational systems. We nurture service-oriented. We are on the nurturing service-oriented side. We are competent and morally upright citizens. Our teaching learning philosophy is one of our biggest identities, and I think all our students will agree with this. The Institute advances a student-centered learning culture. It affirms the ability of students to produce valuable reactions to, reflections and questions, understandings and appreciations of topics and issues in the classroom. The FEU teacher's responsibility is to ensure that students participate in generating ideas rather than being passive recipients of ideas. FEU and its teachers firmly believe that the atmosphere in which learning and development happens best where students are co-authors of ideas. Our priorities in the Institute that continues the 87 years of legacy is to maintain high academic competence and professional excellence, to deliver innovative academic and non-academic programs. We provide total classroom immersion of students in preparation for their chosen careers as educators and sport leaders. We inculcate volunteerism, community, and entrepreneurial spirit. We continue to have value-laden ideas. We value team spirit, innovative training, relentless pursuit of excellence seen in sports and athletics. Our students maintain high percentage passing rate in the licensure examination of teachers. In fact, in the recently concluded Pakukuha Level 4, this is one of the major strong points of the Institute. We provide student leaders who become delegates to various national and international student contests, seminars, and symposia. Our faculty members are competent, research-oriented, and technologically advanced faculty members. Our modern facilities for teacher training include model classrooms, computer laboratories, audiovisual rooms, and e-library are top-notch. Lastly, we provide training for in-service teachers through various seminars, workshops, and conference. Our fruitful 87 years now moving to a new level of excellence. We have 3 departments in the Institute: the Department of Undergraduate Studies, Department of Graduate Studies and Transnational Education, and Department of Wellness and Recreation Program. We offer 7 undergraduate programs and 8 postgraduate programs with several specializations. We have a very hardworking team members. I'm the Dean, as most of you know. Dr. Rosarito Swatenko, our Institute's Research Fellow. She's our Senior Researcher in the Institute. Josephine Talan, the Department Chair of the Undergraduate Studies. Dr. Chini Dino Aparicio, the Department Chair of Graduate Studies and Transnational Education. Jennifer Pasqua, Department Chair of WRP. Mary Joyce Torres, part of the Office of the Dean. Jenny Shell Bongolan, the Office of Department Chair of Undergraduate Studies. And Francisco Victoria, the Office of Department Chair of WRP. We are very proud of our roster of faculty members of the Institute of Education. Our faculty are all with relevant graduate degrees, with MA Education, Doctor of Education, Doctor of Educational Management, and Doctor of Philosophy. They have all basic education and/or industry experiences, all licensed professional teachers. They are engaged in facilitating teacher training, both basic and higher education. And certainly they're engaged in research and publications. With all our innovative programs and relevant services, we have been accredited both locally and internationally, as mentioned a while ago. The recently concluded re-accreditation of PAHOCOA. Our undergraduate programs have the highest accreditation given by PAHOCOA, which is level 4. Our graduate programs, level 3, and we have been visited by the reputable Asean University Network Quality Assurance, or AUNQA. Because of these awards and accolades, we have strong undergraduate programs. All are given emphasis on theory and practice. Our newly developed graduate programs, first in the university, and we're very excited with these new graduate programs. Our institute has done rationalization in 2019, and we are focusing our attention to the following learning areas and expertise: curriculum learning and teaching, early childhood and special needs education, educational leadership and policy studies, language and literature education, mathematics and science education, pre-service teaching education, and sports, physical, and wellness education. In summary, here are our major accomplishments. We are truly proud that this legacy of continuously moving to the direction that our forerunners or founders and predecessors have left us. In terms of our research portfolio, we have also gone up significantly. We have released the Asian Journal on Perspectives in Education, an international peer-reviewed journal. We have partnered with international universities on our research, namely Education University of Hong Kong, National Institute of Education of Singapore, Adamas University of India, Memorial University of Newfoundland in Canada, and we have conducted several write-ups for publishing articles and journals. Our partnerships have also increased and are all active in both academic and industry partnerships. Many of our students have done practice teaching abroad and OJT in several related industry outfits. You can see on the screen now the different industry and academic partners of the Institute. And lastly, we're very proud of our new facilities. They're waiting for all of you students to come back to campus. It may not be this year, we don't know, but we're looking forward for your return in the campus. Our model classrooms have new look and they're all ready for use. Our model classrooms are first in the country. Model elementary classrooms and model high school classrooms with the observation deck, when we're very proud of these classrooms. As I end this long welcome remarks, I would like to tell our students that the legacy will continue. We will continue to do better to serve our students. Happy 87th founding anniversary to the Institute of Education. We should all be very proud that for 87 years, we have been doing excellence in education and looking forward for many more years in the Institute. Please enjoy TERF and let's all learn together. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Harold. Indeed, this event will definitely highlight our core values and IE's teaching and learning philosophy. And now, allow me to present our speakers for this morning. Maybe they can say hi for our audience. First, to represent Commissioner Aldrin Darilag from the Commission on Higher Education, it is my honor to introduce our first keynote speaker. She is the Director 4 from the Office of Programs and Standards Development of CHED. She is primarily in charge of the enhancement of program quality and standards, the development of corresponding policy guidelines, and the achievement of transparency, accountability, expediency, and integrity in the formulation and enforcement of PSGs. Her office has three divisions: the Programs Development Division, the Standards Development Division, and the Non-Conventional Higher Education Programs Division. Um, our first speaker can say hi to our audience, Dr. Sherry Melanie Ancheta Diego. Good morning again, Dr. Diego.
Good morning, Ma'am Andrea. We're happy to be part of your celebration of your 87th Years of Excellence in FEU Institute of Education.
Thank you,
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
thank you, Dr. Diego. For our second keynote speaker for this morning, she is the director of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization. She was the former deputy director for program and development of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization Secretariat, and senior specialist of the Educational Research and Innovation Office of CIMIO Innotech from 2006 to June 2015, and a senior professorial lecturer at the UP College of Education in Diliman. Her expertise is on educational policy research in the areas of internalization of higher education and teacher education. She has published international and local articles, journals, technical reports, and guidelines for some CMEO and other international organizations such as UNESCO, UNICEF, CHED, and ED. She also published Philippine Education in the International Encyclopedia of Education under Elsevier, London. She holds a Doctor of Education in Educational Management and Career Executive Service Officer for in the Philippine government. She was awarded as the Philippine Normal University's Blue Ribbon Award for Distinguished Alumni in 2013 and a World Bank Fellow in Multilingual Education. It is with great honor to present and welcome Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela. Hi, ma'am. Maybe you can say hi to our audience.
Hello, good morning, and happy 87th founding anniversary FEU. I am pleased to join you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ethel. At this juncture, let us proceed to our first keynote speaker to discuss strengthening in the link between pre-service teacher education and service demand of the basic education. Let's welcome back Dr. Sherry Melanie Ancheta Diego. Whenever ready, ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am Andrea. Good morning to each and everyone. I'd like to greet all our 1,183 registered attendees in this forum of the Far Eastern University Institute of Education. And my background, baliktad po yata yung padyak. That is our theme for the celebration of the Higher Education Week, May 18 having been declared by President Duterte as the National Higher Education Day. Pasensya na po, baliktad yung nasa background ko. I cannot invert my mirror. All right, so I'd like to introduce colleagues from the Commission on Higher Education. With me in this forum, we have F and Reynel from the Office of Commissioner Darilag, and I'm not sure if they are in Erickson Reyes and Aline Magalong, who are also both colleagues from the Office of Programs and Standards Development. It is my honor to read to you the keynote message of Commissioner Aldrin Darilag to the Education Research Forum of the Institute of Education of Far Eastern University. Commissioner Darilag is very much excited to be with you today, but because of an equally important engagement, he sent me to be his representative, and I hope to give justice to his message. So let me begin. I read now the message of Commissioner Darilag. Dr. Harold John D. Colala, Dean of the Far Eastern University Institute of Education, Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela, Director of the Southeast Asian Minister of Education Secretariat, Professor Joseph R. Jintalan of the Department or the Department Chair of the Undergraduate Studies of FEU IE, faculty members, non-teaching staff, and teacher education students of FEU IE, fellow academicians, scholars, and advocates of a better Philippine higher education system, warm virtual greetings to all of you. First, please accept my commendations to Dean Colala and his Undergraduate Studies Department Chair, Professor Jintalan, for inviting me to partake as your keynote speaker for today. I am delighted to learn that despite the overwhelming challenges that the world faces, the Philippine higher education sector, particularly the teacher education discipline, through its advocates and practitioners, remains a strong and spirited pillar of support to the Commission on Higher Education, as evidenced by notable initiatives such as today's the Education Research Forum of Far Eastern University. For today's session, the Education Research Forum will focus on the research initiatives on strengthening teacher education and shall highlight two areas of discussion. First, I am charged to speak on the topic of strengthening the link between pre-service teacher education and in-service demand of the basic education, and of course, Dr. Valenzuela, who will be speaking on research initiative on the internationalization of teacher education. Before we speak of what the Commission is doing now to strengthen the linkage between the pre-service and in-service teacher education, it is but proper that we first take a look at the present and render the necessary diagnosis of our current state. Hello, just hold on. Am I being heard?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you po.
Okay. I saw a message.
Oh.
Can I move on? So am I being heard audibly? Yes?
Yes,
Okay
ma'am.
po. Thank you.
Can probably it's I'm not sure if it's fan or
Hold on.
thank you. While waiting for Dr. Sherry, I would like to remind the audience to your comments and questions in the
Is it
chat.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Much
right,
better.
so
Oh, thank you.
apologies for that. Let me continue. Yes, the Commission recognizes that there are issues and concerns, as well as the unprecedented hindrances brought by the ongoing health crisis, which surround teacher education as of this very moment. Internationally speaking, an editorial article published by the Journal of Education for Teaching last January 2020 entitled "The Challenges for Teacher Education in the 21st Century: Urgency, Complexity, and Timeliness" says, or lays out this dilemma. The author aptly analyzes teacher education discourse through three distinct facets in which I quote, the various challenges. May I know if my slide is moving?
Yes, ma'am. We can see it po.
There. So the various challenges to and for teacher education. For the next slide, please. Are not only global, but also urgent and laden with political and social exigencies. They are also becoming increasingly complex, such as the challenge of the role of teacher as researcher, academic, such as the challenge of measuring pedagogical content knowledge, and timely, such as the challenge of future-proofing teacher education for the 21st century. Relative to that, the COVID-19 pandemic has also radically transformed the education landscape of the world, forcing education policymakers, administrators, scholars, and other experts to rethink and reevaluate existing norms, structures, and practices. Added to this, teacher education research has been affected as well. This is further explained in an editorial article by The Lancet on August 29, 2020, entitled Research and Higher Education in the Time of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic is said to be undermining the ability of researchers to do their job. A few of these critical challenges the teacher education researchers must grapple with nowadays include the following: the need to develop new online learning resources for teaching, increase domestic responsibilities associated with the closure of schools and childcare facilities, decreased access to laboratory space, procurement problems of needed equipment and reagents, difficulties recruiting study participants, and posing for permanent closure of clinical trials. Domestically, long before the pandemic came, the need to reform teacher education in the country remains already a priority among our circles within the profession. However, due to the 2018 PISA and the 2019 TIMSS results showing the laggard ranking and performance of the Philippines, our national discourse in the matter has been reinvigorated, with policymakers of both chambers of Congress making salient actions to address now the issue. The PISA stands for Program for International Student Assessment, and the TEAMS, Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. Using as reference the position paper of the Technical Panel for Teacher Education of the Commission on Higher Education to the Senate Committee on Basic Education, Culture, and Sports, that's October 2020, the following are essential areas of policy reform recommended to further deepen the connection of pre-service teacher education and e-service demand for the basic education sector. 1. Revisiting and reimagining the development of a roadmap or master plan for teacher education and national research agenda for teacher education. As products of interagency discussions and consultations conducted between 2015 and 2018, these contain valuable insights into the short-term, mid-term, and long-term approaches to enhancing teacher quality and other important dimensions of teacher education. While principally led by the Commission, as the agency in charge of the pre-service and continuing professional development levels, these documents can also inform the work of the Department of Education, Professional Regulations Commission, Civil Service Commission, and others. Number 2, the conduct of more relevant, responsive, and adequate research. There is a dearth of information in terms of teacher quality, or teacher supply rather, and demand. Without a comprehensive analysis of the kind of students who enter the teacher education discipline, and the employment opportunities and conditions available to them, arguments concerning teacher quality tend to be based on anecdotal evidence. It is imperative that demand-related parameters that include, among others, A. Student admission in teacher education institutions, B. Licensure, and C. Local and international employability are examined more systematically, along with shifts in motivation in joining the teaching force and trends in the quality of engagement of prospective teachers. The third one is on curriculum prescriptivism via the flexible learning under the new normal. The rise of adaptive and alternative learning designs and delivery modes given the COVID-19 pandemic has compelled international education agencies to argue that a monolithic and prescriptivist view of curriculum and instruction will no longer be as useful in the post-pandemic world. While professional teaching standards in DepEd and career progression qualifications in PRC are useful as basis for teacher education curriculum development, the state must invest quickly in reorienting prospective and current teachers in terms of their curriculum and instruction in anticipation of the demands of the post-pandemic context. Number 4 is the strengthening coordination of education agencies with the Teacher Education Council from the TEC, and we also welcome Executive Director Ron V. Manguera. As a sitting ex officio member of the TEC representing the Commission, there is a need to realize the powers and functions of the TEC as a coordinating council. As mandated by law, TEC is directly in charge of collaborating with partner agencies, such as the CHED, DepEd, TESDA, PRC, in terms of policy development, identification of centers of excellence and centers of development, research, among others. The engagement and commitment of heads of agencies are necessary for the development and implementation of programs and projects that will help improve the quality of teacher education in the country. The Commission's main thrust or directions for teacher education will follow in the next slide. Yes, on my end as the Oversight Commissioner for Teacher Education, among other initiatives of the Commission, I am spearheading two major policy and program interventions for teacher education reform, which I hope will have a transformative impact on the development trajectory of Philippine teacher education amidst the new normal. They are as follows. 1. Updating the Center of Excellence and Center of Development project with the premise of revisiting, revitalizing, and reinforcing the Center of Excellence and Center of Development project during this pandemic and onward. The webinar workshop for Centers of Excellence and Centers of Development for Teacher Education with the theme, quote, Pandayan sa Kahusayan, COEs and CODs moving forward towards the new normal, was conducted last February 17, 2021. In this endeavor, my office, the Office of Program Standards and Development, and the Technical Panel for Teacher Education worked hand in hand to develop a pioneering initiative of gathering the key players of teacher education today and carve out the viable path towards sustained growth and development. The webinar workshop's target participants were the 36 COEs and 38 CODs and teacher education, along with teacher education institutions with at least level 2 accredited teacher education programs, the CHED regional offices, particularly their education supervisors for teacher education, technical panel for teacher education members, and the OPSD and the offices or the Office of Commissioner Aldrin Darilag's staff. The activities sought to achieve the following objectives as identified. Articulate narratives of growth for COEs and CODs for the period of 2016 up to the present. Provide perspectives on how the roles of COEs and CODs will evolve given the impact of the pandemic. Tackle select issues on the identification of COEs and CODs and their contributions to reconfiguring Philippine education in the new normal. Refresh the participants with current guidelines and initiatives of COEs and CODs in teacher education. Subsequently, with a long-term and sustainable mindset in place, the following outcomes have also been identified by the organizers. Strengthen the centers of excellence and centers of development in teacher education. Deepen the commitment of COEs and CODs in the performance of their roles and responsibilities as affirmed in a resolution of undertaking. And number 3, engage the cooperation of other teacher education institutions, TEIs, in the continuing advocacy for quality and excellence in teacher education programs. The national and virtual conference was able to gather more than 600 participants from TEIs scattered across the country who undertook a renewal of understanding by passing a signed resolution addressed to the Commission. The said resolution agreed to commit the following. 1. Support CHED in its mandate to facilitate identification and support for COEs and CODs in teacher education who will take leadership roles in the promotion of adaptive, resilient, and innovative programs and practices in instruction, research, creative work, and publication and extension linkages, along with various initiatives in enhancing institutional quality. Act on the strategic directions of the proposed revised master plan for teacher education, which was a product of interagency collaboration as a guide in developing priorities for the continuous development of teacher education as a discipline. Number 3, move towards the approval, adoption, and institutionalization of the National Research Agenda for Teacher Education, which was also a product of interagency harmonization as primary reference for producing individual, institutional, and of course, collaborative high-quality research and innovation in teacher education. The 4th is to participate in the cultivation of a culture of excellence within TAIs underpinned by an enabling balance of theory and practice in student formation, faculty development, community engagement, internationalization, and resource generation and maximization. Number 5, foster further cooperation between and among TEIs through the leadership of COEs and CODs in ensuring that quality assurance mechanisms and targets are given priority in order to produce quality candidates to the teaching profession, and review the criteria in the selection of COEs and CODs, considering the inputs from the Professional Regulations Commission and from the participants of the workshop session. Lastly, support initiatives towards the expansion of pathways and opportunities for interagency cooperation, especially in terms of the implementation of the new professional standards issued by the Department of Education and the new career progression provisions of the PRC, along with other quality enhancing initiatives of other local and international agencies. For the recently approved budget allotment for the COE and COD project from the Higher Education Development Fund for fiscal year 2022 is around 5 million pesos, lodged at the Office of Programs and Standards Development, and we hope that Far Eastern University Institute of Education will capitalize on this very unique opportunity to pitch research proposals for funding as a bona fide COE holder for teacher education. Number 2 is the proposed 3-part scoping study for teacher education. On top of reforming the COE and COD project of the Commission is also tremendous, or is a tremendous need to provide recent and relevant data sets that will inform part of a streak of policy reforms aimed to address the rapidly changing demands of the teacher education discipline, both locally and abroad. Hence, the proposal of a 3-part scoping study drafted and revised by my office, the OPSD, and the CHED Technical Panel for Teacher Education. The 3 parts of this study has these objectives: examine the current context of admission and retention of students in teacher education programs in relation to larger issues of teacher quality. Number 2 is to evaluate the quality of provisions of pre-service teacher education via the design and outcomes of the licensure examination for teachers, and of course, explain the relationship of emerging leadership and management approaches in TEIs that create a culture of quality and excellence in teacher education. As a sneak peek, part 1 is all about an exploration on the quality of teacher education institutions entrance, which shall look into the following: perceptions of prospective entrance to teacher education, career motivations and role expectations of prospective entrance to teacher education, demographic readiness, demographic and academic characteristics of prospective entrance to teacher education, college readiness and general capabilities, and selection criteria and mechanism for prospective entrance for teacher education. Meanwhile, part 2 will explore the quality of graduates of teacher education institutions with the following questions to be addressed. What is the performance of TEI graduates in the licensure exams for teachers? What is the quality of teaching performance of the TEI graduates during their first 3 years of teaching using the following indicators based on PPST standards, performance of students, exams given by DepEd or private schools? How do the following factors affect teaching performance of new teachers? Gender, type of TEI from where the teacher graduated, school where the teacher is deployed, public or private, teacher induction programs, and the question of, is there a significant correlation between the new teacher's score in the LET exam and his or her grade point average to his teaching performance. Lastly, the third part of the scoping study will look at the patterns of and pathways to transformation in Philippine TEIs, the role of institutional leadership in focus. For this component, we'll focus on, quote, the narratives of transformation that uncover layers of understanding issues of quality, relevance, and sustainability, unquote, which shall originate from the stories of educational leaders as they gain consciousness, conviction, and command of intentions, decisions, and actions, or actions oriented towards the discourse of quality matter in the search for patterns of and pathways to the transformation of TEIs. At the conclusion of the study, the Commission and the TPTE envisages that the interaction of both quantitative and qualitative data sets from this study will help inform the formulation of subsequent steps in examining how admission and retention policies and practices, curriculum design, and delivery provisions and school-based leadership should be viewed as interacting domains of the quality of pre-service teacher education programs in the country. So I want to end this keynote address by sharing a well-known extract to everyone, of which I quote, "Tell me, and I forget. Teach me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I learn." These were the wise words of Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, who is also a passionate believer in the importance of education. His quote perfectly summarizes the spirit of today's momentous webinar, and it is my ardent hope that it becomes the embodying spirit that shall live on throughout our gathering today. Once again, thank you, FEU-IE. On a personal note, Dean Harold, and of course, Ma'am Andrea, and to all of you, we'd like to congratulate you once again to your 18 years of excellence in teacher education. Truly, with 87 years, you are evolving, you are innovating, you are transforming, and we always take pride of you as the Commission's Center of Excellence. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sherry. With TERF, we will continue to aim for in contributing to the future-proofing teacher education for the 21st century and continue to work on research that will aid current demands for reform for teacher education. At this part of the program, go ahead.
Allow me to just respond to Dr. Ancheta Diego. Dr. Diego, thank you very much for that. And on behalf of the Institute of Education, we support the Commission on Higher Education, as we always do for the last many years of partnership with the Commission on Higher Education. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Marami pong salamat din. Always will be supportive also. Back-to-back tayo with FEU-IE. Salamat po.
Thank you. Thanks again, Dr. Sherry. At this part of the program, we will be reading some questions or comments for Dr. Sherry. We have here a question from the audience. How can you help for those small colleges offering education programs to strengthen their programs and able to become at least COD?
Yes, of course. Actually, when I stepped into the Office of Program Standards and Development, actually, I'm only running about 2 years now. I started August 2019. And one of the things we would like to look into is how to assist our other higher education institutions to become also centers of development and centers of excellence. This is one of the thrusts of Chair Popoy and Commissioner Dalilag to expand our CODs, COEs and CODs. And of course, the program right now is one we would like to maximize our centers of excellence to be part of the journey of assisting our HEIs to become centers of development. But that means going through several journeys along it. At the moment, we have voluntary assistance to accreditation, but at least they should have started accreditation level to be part of the voluntary assistance. But with Commissioner Darilag, will be coming out with other project packages that will assist other HEIs to become CODs as well, or COEs. It is a dream, personally on my part, that there will be more of our institutions to become centers of development and become centers of excellence. The more, the better, but it's not just being better, but it will be an indicator of a growing excellence to higher education or education in general.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry. We would like to remind the audience, the participants, to please state your name and your affiliation if you would like to ask questions to our speakers. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the participants? Facebook Live or probably in our live Q&A here in Teams? Another question from PC. What does it mean? A question for Dr. Sherry. What does it mean to be in an institution that is CHED recognized as COD or CO?
Oh, that means they have applied. Well, a center of excellence or a center of development is a continuing project of the Commission on Higher Education. If you are declared as a center of excellence or center of development, it means that you have passed through rigorous evaluation by the Commission on Higher Education, and that you have displayed compliance over and above minimum requirements as required by the Commission under its policies, standards, and guidelines. So there are requirements to become a COE and a COD, which can be found in our Manual of Regulations for Private Education or in the specific CMO on Centers of Excellence and Centers of Development. And of course, you will be given priority. COE and CODs are given priority funding when it comes to projects that are geared towards developing the teacher education program across the country. So if you get to become a COE or a COD, you'll be given a priority funding for researches and other studies, and to become, a better partner of the Commission when it comes to developing teacher education across the country. For those who would like to be, assisted, they can always get in touch with us at the Office of Programs, Standards and Development. Our focal person in charge here is Aline Magalong. I'm not sure if she's in. Nakapasok po ba siya? And Erickson Reyes. He takes care of the processing of COE, COD, along with the Programs Development Division of Dr. Ben Makatangay.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry. Next question from Facebook Live. This question is from Ms. Badiola. How can CHED help COEs and CODs who have dwindling enrollees?
Apparently, with the pandemic, we really experienced, dwindling enrollees. But today, when it comes to, because of the issues on quality of teaching and teacher quality, number one, I have mentioned a while ago, a scoping study, and that scoping study will give us some data analytics, how to help not only our COE, CODs improve their enrollment, but not just quantity that we're talking about here. We are also speaking about the quality of students who get into the teacher education program. So we put a balance to quantity and to quality. And that scoping study will be part of deciphering programs which will help our institutions when it comes to dwindling enrollment. But of course, it takes a partnership, to advocate to our students the beauty that the teacher education program brings. Personally, in my experience, when I've taught for almost 8 years, there are many who wouldn't like to go to the teacher ed program, but they cannot just imagine how beautiful it is to be a teacher, to be an educator. And it is our role to say, hey, everyone, join us in the teacher education team. Because, in fact, this would be a program that will really bring fruits, not only for other courses, but when it comes to the development of our country, development of human resources, and everything that we seek for, in fact, grounded on our sustainable development goals. So I think it's also with a partnership to advocate, and we will be very much happy to join you in this journey.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry. Last question po, ma'am. What do you think? This is from James Alvin Mirador via Facebook Live. What do
Hi,
you
James.
What do you think is the best motivation for students with good standing, achieving students in their choice to take education and to become a teacher?
The best motivation. I am not really sure what could be the best motivation that that we can give to our students. Well, from at the end, on the part of CHED, we have considered teacher education even before as a priority program for grants and student assistance. And now we have the UniFast project, which provides free tuition for students who will get to enroll into the teacher education program. That's one among the few. Other than that, I think our institutions, teacher education institutions, serving as models, radiating the excellence that they get from teacher education, what they can see out of the teachers that we produce from our institutions, and from us as teachers, how they see us, how we model to them how to become a good educator, and the commitment and the passion that is in our hearts. If we get our students feel what is this we are advocating for, to me personally, that would be the best motivation. When I was teaching, I tell my students, be, be inspired to become a teacher. Because if you are a teacher, you will be creating a ripple effect to everyone. Not just to teach them, but to tell them, instill in them the values that we need to develop from among our students, and also will be able to develop more of students in the future who will become part of the beautiful teacher education program. Sa akin, hindi lang yung scholarship. Kasi maganda yon. Actually, that's our advocacy. Pero kailangan din na tayong educators, manggaling sa atin yung motivation na yon na makikita ng ating mga estudyante, na nakikita nila tayo that yes, we are teachers, and to be a teacher is not just, it's not just money at all, but it is commitment and passion to public service. It is a vocation that we take. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sherry. Thanks everyone for your questions and comments. At this point, FEU Institute of Education would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Sherry Melanie Ancheto Diego. Let me read it. This Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Sherry Melanie Ancheta Diego for her valuable contribution as speaker during the Education Research Forum, TERF 2021, given this 5th day of May at Far Eastern University, Manila. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sherry.
Maraming pong salamat. This is the first time that I get to talk in a university in Metro Manila. And really, it is an honor that Commissioner Darilag assigned me to represent him in this a milestone of achievement for Far Eastern University. Totoo, Sir Harold, my first time to talk among a group of students, and I've been longing for quite a while to be part, or to speak before students, because it has been my love to be part of a student population and share with them my thoughts and my ideas. Of course, today I am the emissary of our Commissioner Oversight. I call him our Teacher Education Czar in the Commission and Higher Education, Commissioner Aldrin A. Darilag. Thank you,
Thank
po.
you, Dr. Jego. Certainly, this will not be the last. There will be coming more invitation to your office and to you.
I would be happy to be part, sir, of FEU's journeys and endeavor, more so that we would like to continue supporting you, being our center of excellence for teacher education. And I know there will be a lot of programs which we can partner together.
Certainly, ma'am. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, po.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry. We'll see you more often here at FEU.
Yes, ma'am. Just
Thank
call us. We are available. We are just a mouse away or an email away. You can contact us at opsd2019@ched.gov.ph. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you so much. At this point, FEU Institute of we will proceed to the next keynote speaker. We will welcome back Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela to share with us research initiatives on the internationalization of teacher education. Dr. Valenzuela, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Cherry Diego, for that very enlightening state-of-the-art of teacher education. Dr. Harold John Colala, the Dean of the Institute of Education of FEU, FEU officials, esteemed faculty, dear students, and of course, the attendees from different parts of our country, good morning. I am very pleased to join you in this webinar to explore further internationalization of teacher education. And of course, countless organizations have already staged webinars to identify research agenda as we are in Industry 4.0, right? And the megatrends undoubtedly played a big role in reimagining teacher education. Let me just share where I am coming from. Next slide. I am from the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, and I am in the Secretariat here in Bangkok, Thailand. We're the Secretariat of the Education Ministries of 11 countries in Southeast Asia. So we are intergovernmental, and we support policy capacity building and research of all countries, and we have 26 centers. Next, in reimagining teacher education in the region, we have a lot of higher education institutions, and of course, our country ranks second in that. So if I will see the teacher education enrollment, we have over 1,500 higher education institutions teaching teacher education, and with that, almost 607,000 of them are actually representing already a large chunk of our enrollees in higher education, and majority of our teacher education students are actually female. So well, when we plan all of these researches and everything, we should consider also the gender equity and the rest. So in Southeast Asia, we have the biggest number of HEIs and perhaps the biggest number of teacher education institutions, more than other countries. Next, I would like to share that since 2015, we have already agreed as a region to promote agenda. We cannot solve all problems, but we have identified key priority areas where we will put together our resources, our initiatives. So the first one would be on early childhood care education. So those of you specializing in ECCE or ECCD, this is the moment you are prioritized because this is the formative years of the brain development. Second is inclusive education. We would like to have education that is for all, when we say all for all. And the third, because we are in the region of so many disasters, whether social conflict or calamities, we also wanted to deliver education during this situation or during these times of emergency. And technical vocational education and revitalizing teacher education, which is actually a very interesting goal for us to make teaching a priority of choice. Teacher motivation, teacher satisfaction, teacher reward, everything. And harmonization in higher education. This is our internationalization agenda. And linking that to research, which is within our topic today. And finally, 21st century skills. That includes ICT, global citizenship education, and of course, education for sustainable development. So next, let me walk you through, well, in 2015 as well, the ASEAN Secretariat already had adopted the Declaration for Higher Education. So we are having a regional sharing of all the goals in terms of higher education. It was already declared and signed in KL. Next, let me say, next slide, please. We have this topic, right? The big topic, which I will unbundle. Internationalization of higher education is actually a process of integrating international dimensions into the following domains: in teaching, in research, in student services, extension program, and also the campus ethos. The atmosphere in the campus is actually internationalized. And there are so many ways by which we do all of these domains. But we should not forget harmonization of higher education is the way to go. Before you can move all around the region or even outside of the country, you need to know where you are, your current situation in terms of your content, in terms of your curriculum, and in terms of your program. So we do a lot of researches on harmonization of higher education in specific disciplines. And it's important to know this so that we can promote better mobility of students as well as teacher exchange. And next, so knowing that difference, what are we doing in Southeast Asia? So based on our research, there's already an increased trend on internationalization of Southeast Asian countries. So we have Malaysia, which increased its international enrollment, and also they have a high goal to at least have 200,000 international students in Malaysia. Well, the Philippines already has been shared by Ched that they have already supported the law on transnational education, internationalization of education, distance education, and the like. So the ODEL, Open Distance E-Learning Law, these are all bonded together so we can see the entire picture of internationalization. And Vietnam also opened its door to foreign higher education institutions. They are more aggressive. They allowed foreign higher education institutions to be established in their own country to promote internationalization without necessarily traveling. For Vietnamese, that they get the best of schools from France, from US and UK right in their own country. And of course, the same with Thailand. So internationalization agenda is actually at the core of the program for higher education. And they have a big study on internationalization of Thai universities and how they can be more internationalized. Now, let me go to the next one, which is Cambodia. Well, we say that Cambodia is a developing country, but they have increased internationalization as well. They have pursued joint degree with foreign universities so that the Cambodians will not go out, but they will also study high quality programs from outside. And international language as the medium of instruction and participation in so many academic mobility programs. So far, this is what I can share from the researches we did on internationalization in our region. Next, I would like to share that there are so many key players already in internationalization and mobility, and FEU is in all of those, I think. You are in the ASEAN University Network, you are in Simeo Rayed, and you are with us in pre-service exchange or C teacher. And well, I would like to share with you that the new program where I am currently also assisting is the SHARE program, the European Union Support to Higher Education for ASEAN. There are two batches of the project, and I was in the credit transfer system group. So we developed the credit transfer handbook together with the experts from France, and I represent the ASEAN region. So we are already ready with that. You can look at the share website and get all of this information. And also they work on another technical working committee on qualifications framework, and also on all of these programs which we call international domains. So I think FEU is very strong in terms of internationalization because you are connected with all of these dots. Next, let me share that the CIMEO's main platform for higher education is through CIMEO RIHED. This is our Center for Higher Education and Development, which is hosted by the government of Thailand. So since 2010, we have altogether started the internship program for students, and starting with 68 universities, and also now is bigger. More universities are into the ASEAN international mobility of students. So we also developed the exchange program with China, network of teacher education and other universities, and then also for the Greater Mekong sub-region. This is about Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, GMS countries. We also supported the University Consortium Development and the ASEAN-China Arts Colleges Alliance. So we build on all of these the consortium so that we can promote student mobility and teacher exchange. Next, I would like to go to the next slide, which is, in terms of internationalization of student services and internationalization programs of your academic programs or area studies, student mobility is a good platform because through it, you will be able to test your credit transfer scheme, even under UMAP, and also to promote better regional appreciation for students and better immersion for students. So we support student mobility programs starting with eight countries, and a growing number of students are into the aims. But you might be asking later, what about during the pandemic? So what happens? I will share that later. So this aims program is very popular, and it encourages students to be self-sufficient, to be on their own, and it also allows them to study a semester in another country of choice. So there is a need for receiving and sending higher education institution. So there is a steering committee. Some of your deans or department chairs have been involved in many of the meetings. Next, I would like to focus next on the credit transfer. So since I am in the committee for credit transfer in CIMEO, we have developed the framework for academic credit transfer. Of course, no internationalization will happen without respecting the degrees and credits from another country or from another student. It's actually very challenging in terms of internationalization to recognize the studies, partial or full, in another setting, in another country. But since if you're part of the CIMEO, consortium, there is a mutual agreement that you will respect whatever credit is taken from another country, from sending or receiving country. So there is a platform for the review of credentials and to agree on respecting the credentials, which is also part of the UNESCO mutual recognition agreements on higher education qualifications, which I was also lucky to develop with the rest of experts of the world. We did the Tokyo Convention in 2011. And respecting or recognizing the degree is greater part of all internationalization initiative. Next, let me say that transnational education, as what mentioned earlier by Ched, is also a bigger development. So I will not miss transnational education. I mean the technical panel for transnational education and distance education of Ched for the longest time. And we have developed already the shared memorandum order on transnational education. So because in other countries, transnational education is actually very, very effective. So for example, the governments of Malaysia and Singapore, they would like to recognize each other's credentials. So local citizens can study sideways, no? The government of Thailand and UK also pursued hundreds of collaborative degrees. So Thai students can just right away study in UK universities and without much rejection on the qualification of a student or a teacher who would like to pursue higher education. There are dual and joint degree programs happening. And our policy in the Philippines, the CHED Memorandum Order, we also encourage transnational education. But our ODEL puts it that it's level 3 accredited. So that is actually a higher level of requirements for those who will go transnational education, meaning not all institutions can actually offer transnational education or be part of it. Okay, next, let me say that transnational higher education, we did a lot of research write up on this in our region. So they offer online and distance learning, international branch campus, franchising, or what they say, academic franchising, validation of degrees from each other, respecting the degrees from each other, and collaboration by distance learning with local partners, or inviting faculty to teach, which we call as flying faculty. So I've seen a lot like Philippine universities would send their faculty to Hong Kong, to Vietnam, to China to teach on weekends. That was before COVID-19 pandemic, and we call them as flying faculty. As an interesting delivery mode of transnational higher education. So next, let me share the issues and challenges on this. So, well, some countries do not yet have a solid policy on transnational education in Southeast Asia, but I'm happy to inform you that we're one of the first to develop the transnational education policy since 2003. I was still with CHED then as Director of International Affairs. We already have developed, together with the OPS, Office of Program Standards, the transnational education policy, and we have revised that one lately. So, but other countries in the region, they do not have yet TNE. And so this is a problem of, is sometimes they cannot decide if they will accept the credential of another student or another returnee, a faculty who studied in Australia, whether they will accredit that, because the issue on quality assurance and quality assurance process and credit transfer. That's why we have also another technical working group working on quality assurance, and it's really very important as an important aspect of internationalization, transnational education. What is the biggest problem that we face, even in our technical panel for transnational distance education, is lack of information. So sometimes if you go to the website of that university applying for transnational education, you cannot see any information. It's not updated. So that's why there is a lack of national information center. And together with UNESCO, I wrote the toolkit for this National Information Center. So it's being utilized now, how to set up a National Information Center, because it is a component of our commitment for the recognition of higher education institutions. So we need to work a lot on our database so that the internationalization and transnational education will be promoted. So that one is addressed. We have a toolkit. We have done a lot of capacity building on research on National Information Center. So you can get this from the website of UNESCO Bangkok. And then resources. So the model for Southeast Asia is actually different. So while the SHARE program, our committee works on some budget from European Union, for example, for student scholarship every year to study in Europe or in another ASEAN country under the SHARE program. But under CMEO program, so the financial capability of the student is what will support real internationalization, because the students will have to cover some of the expenses while they're studying in another country. The host university will cover for accommodation or the experience of teaching, and but your daily expenses, it's something that the students complain. So students from Indonesia, Thailand, when they go to Philippines, also the food is their problem, limitation of resources to support inbound and outbound and student services, the language barrier. Whenever we interview students for internationalization and mobility, we select those with clear, good English. So, but not all can speak English well, right? So whenever they go to Philippines, they really found it very difficult because everybody can speak English. So this is the dilemma of some of our student mobility participants. So when it's Philippines, they really like it because Philippines is English, right? But they also found it difficult because their language capacity is limited. So some of the universities within our network, they offer a 1 week program for conversational English if they go to the Philippines, which is also a very good development. Next, I would just like to share with you that academic exchange and mobility under CIMEO are, in summary, aims under RIHED and under us at the Secretariat. It's the C-Teacher and C-TVET exchange program. You exchange for 1 month or 1 semester. And for TVET polytechnic institutions or polytechnic universities, you can have internship in industries for your engineering and technical vocational courses. Next, I would like to share with you the C-Teacher. Although I think FEU already sent some students, so it is equivalent to 1 month of practicum in another Southeast Asian country. So while CTVET is open for diploma, higher diploma, bachelor degree programs for 1 to 3 months in another country in Southeast Asia. And next, let me now say that there is a committee for CIMEO, and we usually have an annual meeting, except this year, 2021, our meeting will be virtual. It will be happening in June, and we'll be inviting you. So there is a contract between institutions, and there is also a letter contract between the institution and the student. And the students have to develop their blog or their experiences. And we offer cost sharing among institutions who are in the internationalization of student services. So next, it is the easy part, right? So 30 days. So 1 week you spend on orientation and class observation in another country, then you become a teacher assistant, and then you teach for 1 week, and then you prepare your blog and reflections and lessons learned. So it's easy. It's just to immerse you in another classroom setting outside of the Philippines. And next, for TVET, it's more intense because you have to observe the university and then you have to go to the industry. So no TVET internship will be approved without university and industry attachment, because you need to receive this internship certificates that you really work in the industry that the university already engaged in. Next, let's go to the C-Teacher and C-TVET student exchange. So it went up. Many universities participated in our academic mobility program to internationalize their students. In fact, they report this in their internationalization award, or when they want to get the SHED internationalization budget, they report C-Teacher and C-TVET programs, which actually is becoming very popular. Next, so a sample of co-sharing agreement. Okay, so the parents will support, of course, all something related to passport, return ticket, meals, etc., and visa, and then receiving institutions will offer this one. And even though the parents pay in some ways, they still wanted to participate. It's actually the benefit of learning in another setting or in another context. And they put that in their in their CV that they have taught in Thailand or Indonesia or in Cambodia, which makes them an international educator. So next, let me show to you the members in the Philippines. Currently, we have 41, and FEU is one of them. Next slide. So a long list of universities involved in this one, and the happy faces of students who have joined our internationalization program. So that's the whole of internationalization of mobility of students and academic. And now, what is happening in the researches? Let's go to that part. So, okay, based on our research on internationalization, many administrators agreed that this is the best way to internationalize their institution to participate in academic mobility. So this is the feedback from the 79 coordinators in Southeast Asia. And next, the key success factor that we found out from our research is the high commitment and, of course, the great coordination among institutions. The letter of agreements really help, and close coordination with our frequent WhatsApp and line messages, and of course, selection of qualified and enthusiastic students, and the support of mentor teachers and student bodies. So they really enjoyed their stay in another institution, even if it's only a month outside of the Philippines. Next, another success factor is for the TVET. They learned a lot from the industries. Imagine if you work in 3M company in Thailand or in Cambodia, the best companies there, international companies and domestic companies. So they were very, very happy that they were able to do internship in this international setting. And in fact, some of them really get jobs right away, especially those in tourism, hospitality. Students, when they are sent to Singapore or when they are sent to Cambodia, Siem Reap, they will right away get their position. But I said, no, you have to go back and get your diploma from your universities in the Philippines. They really are hired right away because of the internship factor. So it's easy to join, it's simple and friendly and flexible. So next sharing is about the research on the shape of global higher education, because we tried to find out whether this mobility program is really working in our region. And the UK experts have conducted the shape of global higher education. And in fact, they have reported that there are countries with a very good internationalization of higher education portfolio, which includes Australia, Hong Kong, Netherlands, Malaysia, and the UK, of course. And majority of them are actually into international student mobility. So the biggest cut of internationalization aspect is actually on student mobility program. Next, according to the shape of global higher education, also there is a strong positive relationship between policies that support international mobility and transnational education. So it's like if you have a policy on student mobility, you also have policy on transnational education being followed. And the TNE, the programs have really strong quality assurance because they export or import, right? That's two-way. And 34% of 13 countries out of 38 who filled up that survey form said that they recognize qualifications. And globally, there is a consensus that international research collaboration to higher education is really important in our economy and in our society. Next, another important findings from the shape of global higher education is a national push towards collaborative funding. Of course, in our country, it's quite difficult to get funding for internationalization. I can see that some universities fully sponsor the students when they go outside for AIMS or for SIMEO, Teacher TVET. They really provide funding, but not all. So some parents still cover the cost. It depends on the institution. And while we push for a collaborative funding and structures that should be made available in many countries. So 31 countries out of 38 say that they support this collaborative funding mechanism. But visa is something that is very tricky because they have different policies for different countries in terms of visa. So I should say if you're a student here, you will get student visa for a month, just timely for the C teacher. It's the same with Indonesia and other countries. But if you are into engineering exchange, you need 3 months. So it's very tricky. You need to renew every month. So that's why we wanted to have a solid discussion among the ASEAN leaders on visa allowing students and researchers to pursue beyond 1 month that is allowable within the student visa or teacher exchange. And yes, this is still a big room for improvement in the future. And next, let's go to next, please. More harmonization of higher education. So since SIMEO started, we have this flagship project on common space, right? We want to harmonize higher education. So we did a lot of researches on compatibility and comparability of educational system. And of course, you cannot have mobility without common space for your courses and classes. It will not fit. So you need to study, in those who are in research in internationalization, you need to study the academic curriculum and also the internship requirements, number of units, and how you equate one. Oh, it was a long, it's like we work on this for 3 years, and up to the last, when we did the credit transfer, it was the most difficult part. And when we did I really did all the survey in Southeast Asia, it's very difficult. For example, the units in FEU and the units in UP and the units in Cambodia, RUPP, Royal University of Phnom Penh, the units in Thailand, they don't match. Even the 3 units here, maybe not that, 1 unit in another country. So there is still a big room to work on the credit transfer. Anyway, we're able to come up with a solution. Please check out the SHARE website. Next. Okay, these are the things that I have seen over the years on internationalization. Being with JED since 1995 at International Affairs Office, we wanted to globalize, we wanted to internationalize, but the policies are restrictive. The restrictions are on level of, level of accreditation, and then so many requirements for faculty to be exchanged, national laws and restrictions, and the world and regional commitments. So there are very good supportive world international commitments like since 1983, we have the recognition of higher education degrees and credentials and certificates. But it's hard up to now. If you're a graduate overseas, it's very hard to have the accreditation or recognition or respect of your credentials. So we need to provide support, grants and resources, and help the universities in inter and intra-university linkages and partnership. So we need to share a lot. We need more researches on this, how to ease out all of these conflicting policies, like you want to internationalize, but you limit it to only the top institutions. So you cannot cater to all. So the regulatory framework and the developmental framework will always clash. And next, I should say that based on the study that I shared with you, for example, Thailand and Indonesia have well-developed policies supporting students and academic mobility. It's more sustainable. More and more Thai students are going abroad, and Indonesia as well. Even the minister, he wanted that at least 3/4 of the courses of a student, of Indonesian student, will be spent in another country. He really dreamed that every Indonesian will study in another country as part of the qualification. That's a big goal, but they're doing it. And the openness of the higher education system. So we see Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand leading in being open, more foreign institutions coming in and in under the bilateral relationship. And Philippines, we are working on the visa process for students, but I think we're getting there. And in terms of quality assurance, so many work will have to be done for us to have a respected qualification all over the world. As we just change into the K-12 system to make sure that the higher education graduates are recognized. Before K-12, our higher education graduates are equated as only high school level. But because of K-12 system, they'll be more respected in APEC, in ASEAN, and the world. So that's the goal why we supported the K-12 system. And in terms of student mobility, it's still the way to go. Right now, we are thinking about virtual mobility in this time of pandemic. So we'll have our summit next month to talk about virtual mobility. And Malaysia supports really transnational education, and Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. Well, we have a program for Greater Mekong sub-region countries like Laos, Cambodia, and of course, let's not forget Timor-Leste as a member of CIMEO family. So we also have exchanges, but on a limited number of mobility. So in a nutshell, next, we need greater collaboration. So while CIMEO has pursued helping the developing economies, developing countries, because we cannot leave them behind. Internationalization will not happen if we will just leave them on their own. So we have to pursue consortium between the GMS countries, and this is funded by Asian Development Bank. And we help them how to prepare their credentials, qualifications, framework, and the rest. And I think we are getting there. We have to experience real exchanges between Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam for increased mobility and credit transfer. And ASEAN, through the SHARE program, help a lot in promoting intra-ASEAN exchanges, and they got scholarship as well. So we have signed agreement with Malaysia to have more collaborations between and among our universities and colleges. That's the good news for us. And next, so another recommendation, a lot of recommendations for researchers because you're here, quality assurance under AUN and RIHEAD. So of course, if you recall the establishment of ASEAN University Network, we hosted that in the Philippines. Maybe you're still small. So in 1995, 1996, we hosted the ASEAN ministers responsible for higher education meeting, which brought the establishment of the ASEAN University Network. I was still with JED, and we selected top 2 universities from each country to promote exchanges and to do quality assurance, so under AUN. And the development of the National Qualifications Framework, the Tokyo Convention that I was saying to you, we need to make it happen. So now the Tokyo Convention has been ratified in many countries, not yet in the Philippines. So we need to work on the ratification of the Tokyo Convention so that our graduates and those who come to us would have strong acceptance of their degrees, especially when they work after getting their degrees. And accreditation, outcomes-based education as a component of the National Qualifications Framework, and still the creation of National Information Centers on NICs, and removing barriers to international higher education in TNE. These are actually very good research agenda for all of you, and we are here to support if there's any initiative to really work on regional research on internationalization. Please contact us. We may be able to work together. So the physical, digital, and biological changes that's happening all over, these are the new drivers of internationalization. So let us not forget, our main goal here in the region is to leave no one behind, that students will have the opportunity to participate in all of these exchanges. So next, way forward, okay, the researchers, regional study on student mobility. We can share with you all the resources and information, the data, and then if you want to conduct this with us, please let us know. And we also have the CIMEO journal where you can publish your researches. This is something that many teachers as well as students would like to have, a publication, right? Research on situation analysis for internationalization of higher education combined with TNE. We would like to present that in the Ministers' Dialogue, all of the researches on transnational education, and the effect of the Global Mekong Sub-Region Consortium, and of course, student mobility, especially on joint research initiatives. So I think a lot of things to do, a lot of ways forward. It will never stop. There's so many topics that we can talk about in terms of internationalization. And it's really very interesting for me because I've been here for a long time in international affairs. And next one, okay, there's so many ministerial meeting, and but our focus now is really the visa, to improve that one, and to have a regional approach for internationalization of higher education and TNE. And please use the UNESCO output, the ASEAN and CIMEO in terms of promoting all of your researches and recommendations. We're here to help. And next, of course, yes, leadership. I will not miss internationalization without leadership. Why are many universities and colleges successful in internationalization? Because they have a champion, because they have a good leader who understands internationalization. So if the leader believes in internationalization, it can be integrated in different disciplines, in researches, as well as student services. And they say that internationalization is a timing only for those with higher standards, and those with lower standards could not take place. Well, that may be true, but all of us should really meet the requirements of CHED in terms of academic program, that if you're a recognized institution, you can participate in this internationalization. And of course, accountability to our stakeholders in terms of internationalization. So we are not just preparing students for yesterday, we're preparing students for tomorrow, a more global world. And that's the future orientation that we would like the institutes of education to do, and the commitment for quality through mobility and students at the center of intervention. So another one, I would like, next please. So, okay, next please. Sorry, I have discussed that already. I have discussed that. Please, next. Okay, so I think these are all my thoughts on internationalization. A lot of researches happening. They're all very good researches from the region and even beyond. With UK, most of our universities have partnered with UK institutions. They're very active now. And the consortium has also been built. And I'm very glad that you're here talking about what else can we do on educational research and internationalizing research at the helm, one of the domains of internationalization. So that's my sharing, and thank you very much for inviting me in this research forum. I look forward to the success of the whole day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Ethel, for the wonderful and significant sharing. Dean Harold.
I asked Miss Andrea to give me a short moment to say thank you to Dr. Valenzuela. FEU, specifically Institute of Education, has a long partnership with CIMEO, especially for Southeast Asian teachers. We have sent our senior students to do practice teaching in Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia, and we have received students from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand as well to do their practice teaching here in the Philippines, specifically in FEU schools. We've placed them in the basic education schools in FEU and also in the Institute of Education. So we thank you for that partnership, and we will continue our partnership with CIMEO. And talking about the transnational education, I just like to emphasize that FEU Institute of Education is now very serious with transnational education. In fact, we have created a new department in the graduate programs. So it's called the Department of Graduate Programs and Transnational Education. So we are now moving towards to having dual degrees, partnerships, and in fact, we have started to do exchanges for our graduate programs in Taiwan and different places as well. So we thank you, Dr. Valenzuela, for your time, and we hope to continue our partnership with CIMEO.
Thank you so much, Dean. I look forward to seeing your profile for our team for the technical panel on transnational education.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much, and Dr. Ethel, thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Thank you again, Dr. Ethel. Now, I would like to encourage everyone to type in your comments and questions in our meeting chat box or via Facebook Live. As of the moment, we have some comments coming up from Facebook Live. Very interesting. I hope that we can have the golden opportunity here at Sultan Kudarat State University to join CIMEO. Other questions po from our audience for Dr. Ethel.
While waiting for some questions, can I just quickly share the experiences of our students when they have an exchange program in C Teacher program? And I'd like to say this to Dr. Valenzuela and the rest of the audience. Their experience have been very fruitful. They have seen a different culture. They have been exposed to a different classroom. And from the time that I think we have joined CIMEO for cycle 10 already. Joseph, correct me if I'm wrong. No, we have been in CIMEO Inotech, specifically C Teacher program for cycle 10 already. And their responses are very positive. So we encourage also our partner schools and our students specifically to participate in this, because our services in the Institute of Education include exchange students, exchange faculty also. So we're very excited to go on this internationalization as one of our major agenda in the institute. Okay.
Thank you, Dean. And we are hosting the C Teacher and C Vet Summit by June. I think June 29. We're just preparing for the ministerial meeting by June 17, but definitely I think we circulated June 29. And we look forward to having more members attending. It is for free, and you will learn a lot from experts on internationalization, transnational education, and the rest in our summit. So please join us.
Yeah, our colleague from Sultan Kudarat who asked the question,
Yes,
or who made the comment, please go on the website, and certainly you will
yes.
have a fruitful engagement with our CIMEO partners.
Yeah, exactly, Dean. He was asking, how can we join po, ma'am? I am currently connected with Sultan Kudarat State University.
So in our website, you can find how to join the CIMEO Schools Network, CIMEO Pre-Service Teacher Education Network, and the rest. So just fill up the form and send back to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Ethel. As of the moment, we don't have other questions from the participants from Facebook and via our meeting chat right now. So I believe we can now show our deep appreciation to our speaker, Dr. Valenzuela. Let me read our e-certificate. This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela for her valuable contribution as speaker during the Education Research Forum 2021. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I wish all the presenters this afternoon the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dean. At this juncture, let's hear it from our IE Graduate Studies faculty for his message to the researchers. We have Mr. Gregorio Ebron Jr. Sir Greg. Hi, Sir Greg.
Okay na po.
Yes, sir. Go ahead po.
Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, first, to our beloved Dean, Dr. Harold de la Vinculala, our very hardworking, untiring, and very dependable program heads, Sir Joseph Hintalan and Dr. Chini Dino Aparicio, and also our dear keynote speakers, Dr. Ethel Agnes Valenzuela, and Dr. Cherry Melanie Ancheta Diego for your very informative talks. And of course, our dear students, our student researchers, good afternoon. And let me give you an advance congratulations, because this afternoon you will be presenting your studies, your research outputs that were the products of your hard work, dedication, and perseverance for how many months? Because as we all know, considering our present situation, conducting research may not be as easy as before. And aside from the challenges brought by the pandemic, when we say research, conducting research, it's not always very easy because it's guided by different conventions and it requires lots of skills. Like for example, organizational skills, because sometimes even if you have lots of ideas in mind, but if you cannot organize them, your productivity may be affected. And also, conducting research requires critical thinking skills because you will do lots of analysis and synthesis. And also, it requires good communication skills because all throughout the process, I will be involving yourselves in lots of communicative activities, from conceptualizing your papers till securing permit to conduct it, until you gather data until today that you're about to present your papers. And also, sometimes research can be very stressful, so you should know how to manage your stress very well. And very importantly, you should learn how to learn because as we can observe, we are now moving from industrial age or industrial economy to digital economy. So we need to maximize our learning with the help of various technological tools available. Because as we all know, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, and living in the fourth industrial revolution has afforded us a lifestyle our previous generations never had. And thank you to the unstoppable advancements, breakthroughs, and new discoveries brought to us by extensive research. And research, as we all know, has lifted to the laurels of life and gifted us opportunities for more possibilities. And to all our students here, may you be inspired to continue your love for education and lifelong learning and unceasingly pursue quality, innovation, and excellence through research. So you may also contribute to the advancement of our society. Actually, there we have lots of inspiration for research, as what Dr. Valenzuela has just discussed a while ago. To give you some examples, we have the United Nations 17 Sustainable Goals. We also have the Philippine Development Plan 2021. We have Ambition Natin 2040 and others. So whatever field you may be and wherever uh, you navigate yourselves to be, research will always be there. So we hope that you will always use what you've learned in FEU, like critical thinking, creativity, communication skills, collaborative skills in dealing with and addressing our lives' biggest problems and most pressing issues through research. And I will not make this message long anymore. Let me end this line. After all, research is life, and there is beautiful life in research. So for our student researchers, I wish you all the best in your presentation this afternoon, and I'm sure you can do very well. Thank you so much.
Sir Gregory. To officially end the plenary session, let's hear it from Dr. Renante Pagala, Faculty of IE Undergraduate Studies, for his closing remarks. Sir Renante, whenever you're ready, sir.
A Chinese proverb states,
Sir,
if
sorry.
you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. If you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. The Proverbs exemplifies the significant role of teachers in the field of education, particularly in honing individuals to be lifelong learners. Thus, it is but befitting that there is really a need to strengthen our existing teacher education program, providing them various opportunities for self-development, intensive engagement into research as means to discover new teaching and learning practices are just some of the ways on how we can intensify our teacher education program. We are very fortunate and privileged that we have experts in the persons of Dr. Ancheta Diego in behalf of Dr. Darilag, who shared an insightful keynote talk about strengthening the link between pre-service and in-service demands, identify the challenges, and at the same time amplify the measures and programs that we need to consider, and most of all, emphasize the relevance of being a model teacher to all learners. Dr. Valenzuela, who gave us a very inspiring talk about the initiatives in the internationalization and harmonization of higher education, that internationalization can be made more of a success through strong commitment and coordination, and also emphasize the emerging necessity of transnational higher education. Indeed, the field of education continuously veils itself with a global stature, and we cannot manage to remain to be complacent about it, but instead actively involved and be felt internationally as what we are doing here in Far Eastern University Institute of Education. This kind of collaboration proves essential our aspiration for a better education. We have students both in the undergraduate and graduate levels who dared the rigors and challenges brought by this pandemic and will be sharing their scholarly works this afternoon, a show of one of the distinctive attributes of a Tamaraw learner, fortitude. We have panel of examiners and reactors who, despite their other engagements, unselfishly share their expertise and insights to our student presenters, research advisors, and facilitators who made themselves available despite being flooded with students' papers to check. The TERF committee, headed by Mr. Joseph Gintalan, who, without his patience and diligence, this event would not have been made, and of course, through the leadership, help, and support of our very own Dean, Dr. Harold Kolala. We all owe ourselves a pat on the shoulder, for without the contribution and active participation of those individuals and personalities mentioned, the event would not have been a success. Congratulations to all of us, and thank you, and good day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sir Renante. On behalf of the Institute of Education, we would like to send our appreciation to all our attendees, participants, and of course, our keynote speakers this morning. Just a reminder, we posted the evaluation form for this event in the meeting chat and Facebook Live. Kindly ensure that you will be able to fill it out until 3 p.m. today. At 1:30 this afternoon, we will have the parallel sessions of paper presentation, both from graduate and undergraduate studies. The breakout session is open for FEU and IE community. This has been Andrea A. Austria. See you later, Tamaraws.